Hi guys, this is Santiago Zapata and this is the second part of the third streaming for the addition of party members to the game, to OpenArthurianX6. If you don't know what OpenArthurianX6 is, it's a open source engine that you can use to create games similar to Ultima 6. And I am developing this after a crowdfunding campaign that we ran for it. And last time, what we did was adding the party members to the engine, so that you have party members following you around and also attacking your enemies when you are in combat mode. So today we are going to continue working on that. The last stream was interrupted a bit by my newborn daughter. Uh, but in this one I'm going to show you the results of that development session. So as you can see here, we now have a party of gargoyles that are attacking us, and we are trying to save the avatar from being sacrificed. And if you could see, they quickly move toward us. This is our party, and I can try to escape. Actually, one of the tricky parts here was making it so that it's hard to escape, because the enemies are moving at the same speed as you are. So as you can see, well, combat is inevitable. I hate it when you can run away from combat in this kind of games, like you could do on Ultima 7, I think, maybe even on 6. Absolutely so on the port for Super Nintendo, and that was horrible. So here you cannot run. I mean, if you're going to be hit by enemies, they will eventually reach and hit you. If you have any questions about the engine of what we're going to develop, feel free to post them on the chat. I will be taking a look from time to time there. So yeah, right now what we added last time was making the party members follow you when you are in exploration mode, and also have them like fight against the enemies or the other factions when you are in the combat mode. So you can see that working here. And what we are going to do today is, or the idea of what we are going to do today, is the actual manual mode where you can control all of your party members in combat. So the idea with this will be optional, because as you can see, by default they have an AI module that guides their actions, and they can they move automatically. But the idea with this is to make combat more interesting, give you full control of your party members. So I still haven't thought how to handle this actually, but the way that the engine is made, and I think I have mentioned this a couple of times already, it's that the mobs, every entity in the level is a mob, even the player is a mob, and there's no difference between any of them, besides the fact that the UI module has a mob associated as the current player, and that's the one that is controlled by the keyboard or the another UI actions. So the idea here is we are going to modify this the act function of the mobs. This is the function that is called whenever we need to decide what to do, and this is where the very simple artificial intelligence is taking place. Basically, as you can see, if this mob is the player, then it's going to just activate the player state machine, which actually controls the user interface. If it's not the player, but we have a player and we are not in combat, and we are the same alignment as the player, this means that this is a party member. And if this is a party member and we are not in combat, then it will just follow the player using the move to function here. Else it means that we are not a party member. So what it does is it will try to get a nearby target, and also, I mean, this is also the case when it's a party member but we are in combat, so it's going to find a target from the enemy's party or any enemy on the map. Except if the alignment is neutral, it's like an animal or something like that, then it moves randomly. I mean, it won't try to attack any target. But if it has a target, then it's going to try to move towards it. And this is something that we are also going to try to work today, which is the pathfinding. Because right now we have a very simple pathfinding where we just take the difference and we move towards wherever we need to go. But if there's something solid or any other entity in our way, then it will just keep bumping against it. So that's something that I also want to work in today. But yeah, first we need to find a way to control um, the uh, the party members manually. All right. So what are we going to do? Uh, we will try to check something here, and what we can do is check if we are in combat mode and we are the same alignment as the player. So let's first assume that the manual mode won't be optional, and we can just include the logic here. So we will check if this is a party member. Then if we are in combat, that's where we are going to do some stuff right now. And if we are not in combat, we will just follow the player. Just follow the player. Right. If we are in combat and if we can try to set the active mob as this one on the UI, something like this. So we have a reference to the UI model here, so we can do something like this. Active mob is this one, and enable action. I wonder how that will work. I mean, right now it will be similar to this, and we can try to make it like this. I mean, to use the same reference player, but that may be troublesome. So let's try it this way. And another thing that we need to do is actually enable the action. So let's try to do it similar to the way it works here. So it's very similar to making it like it was a player, but it's not the player, it's another mob. And then let's do something here too, I think, to prevent problems. We set the active mode to false whenever we go back to the player. And then here on the player state machine, wherever action, I mean on the update, or wherever we use the player, then like here for example, we should not always use the player, but if there's an active mob, then that's the entity we are acting on. So this is one spot, and this attack command this attack command, yeah, I mean the showing icon, all these should be like accept both the player or the active mob. And actually, I think for in the future I'm going to um, merge these two functions into a single function, because I was playing the game Ultima 6 a couple days ago. Well, I just gave it a quick look, and it seems like actually there is no directional attack command. Whenever you want to attack, you get to pick your target. I mean, and if you have a melee weapon, then it's just going to let you pick the nearby tiles. But that's the difference. If you have a ranged weapon, then you can pick anywhere on the map or in the viewport. Anyways, for that reason, I think I will focus on this one, so that this will be the action that will allow both the player or the active mob to act. So it's really not that complex. I think I can just do something like this. Active mob will be, is there a active mob on the UI? Or the player, if there is no active mob, acting mob acting or active, okay, active, right. And then we can just replace the references here, right? So instead of going directly to the player, this one is not really that important, because this will just add a message somewhere. This one is important. Okay, and the mobs range, right? And then we are going to use the active mob. Okay, so the idea is that whenever we act, if we are in the turn-based mode, there's like a queue of entities that are acting, and that queue is controlled by this act next function. So whenever an actor or a mob acts, um, the I mean, whenever it's his turn to act, the act function will be called, and then after a delay, the act function for the next mob will be called. So I think this will suffice, because once it's turn for the player to act again, it's going to fall here, and it's going to set the active mob to false. So let's see how that works. Hope it works. Let's see if there's any questions anywhere. Not on Twitter, not here, and not directly on Twitch. Okay. All right. So let's see if it works. We're going to run the build script, and actually the watch is already active, so we don't need to run it. Let's see how this works. Well, there should not be any change on the default mode. Now we are in the combat mode. There's a transition that happens automatically whenever any of your party members is hit. Okay, YOLO is the player, so this is nothing new. Oh, I did not. Oh, shall not. Well, it kind of worked. Alright, I know what happened there. For a second it seemed like we could pick what to do, but it went to the next mob in the queue, because we didn't do anything to stop it from doing so. This happens here in the level, right? This is what happened. Uh, we need to do this in some other um, occasions, and that's interesting because how do we control how do we give back control to the queue? So if the next actor is different than the player, then uh, we make it act and then call act next. Else we make it act, and the act next is called that's a good question. I don't really know. But for now we can replace this with something similar to what we did in the player state machine. So the active mob will be defined like this, and then we can check if the next actor is the active mob. Problem is that we don't know yet because that is said whenever the actor acts. So maybe what we need to do is check in here if if this is now the active mob. If this is not, alright. If this is not the active mob, well, not this next actor. If that's the case, then we call for the next actor to act. Because if we set it as the active mob, then we are waiting for the UI instructions for it to move. Okay, the bond was created. And something weird happened. It was meeting, okay. And I'm going to go ahead and reduce the number of gargoyles to make tests quicker. Okay, this is the player, the main player moves, and then Shaminoid, and it didn't work. It okay, it kind of almost worked. Let's see if we can target. Interesting. Then double green, and again we can attack with him, and then the others. Oh well, that's awesome. So the only part that we missed was the actual cursor. Yeah, this is great. Yeah, because oh well, we need to fix the movement action. Right. Yeah, and this is happening because we are hiding the marker here, and maybe we should only hide it after it acted, or I'm not sure where we should hide it because we don't know yet if this actor is going to be handled by the UI. But for now, let's hide it after it's acted. Yeah, let's see how that works. Let's see how this works. I forgot to post this here, and by the way, this is the dev channel for the founders of the project. We have a dev channel where they get access to the latest versions and the latest news. And they will get access to the first beta versions. Beta? Alpha? I don't know. Yeah, as you can see, the cursor is being removed after the action, which looks kind of okay when they are attacking, but not very good when they are moving. But as you can see, it did not disappear here, so it's much clearer that it's current turn. Yeah, but I don't like the way it looks there. That's fun. What will be the best way to fix this? Maybe we can just check if it's a party member, and it's kind of easy because we just need to check the alignment of the actor versus the player's alignment. So we can do something like this. We can do something like if the actor's alignment is different than the player's alignment, then hide the marker immediately before acting. But if it's not, if it's the same and we are in combat mode, but this is only for combat mode, the turn-based system only works for combat mode. So this should work. Let's hope it works. Still has come here, gargoyles up. And yeah, I also gotta fix the order of the turns. I still haven't decided how that should work. I mean, when you enter combat mode, are you supposed to go first? Is the party supposed to go first? But in any case, it's currently using the order the mobs are being added to the level, and that list can be easily sorted in any other way. So, channel attack this one. Dot to free attack this one. Other moves, yeah, that works fine. That's right. We also need to fix the movement action. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that. Very similar to this one. And actually, we can also fix the directional attack action. This is just all about replacing the player with the active mob. So player, yeah. And then the same for the movement action. That worked kind of well. The movement action is a bit different because it's made as part of the update cycle. So in the update world action, we are doing the following. We are checking the commands. So this we already fixed these two commands. But there's some other place where we check the movement, and I am missing it. Where is it? No, check movement. Where is this called? Check movement. This is okay. This is like a call afterwards. And here the player, not only the player, right? Not always a player, but the active mob. This will allow us to move in combat too, because right now we could only use the target command. Mhm. Okay, can't get me. Combat mode. As you can see, there is no pathfinding, so whenever they are trying to walk towards me and there's an obstacle, they are just bumping there. Stamina can move great, and the pre move there. Yeah, actually, I was reading a bit on the combat systems for Ultima, and there's this blog which I am sure a lot of whoever is seeing this video may know about, which is the I forgot the name. I think it's the CRPG Addict, probably. I'm not sure. This is the guy that is playing all these CRPGs ever done for PC, I think. So, yeah, he discussed a bit about Ultima and the combat system. This was in the post he did after playing Ultima 6, and he said that actually he didn't like the combat system for Ultima 6 that much, um, and in some ways maybe the Ultima 5 one was better. And I kind of agree. Uh, of course, then there's Ultima 7, which was awful in the combat. Um, but Ultima 6 wasn't that bad, but still, it was not very good. It didn't feel um, like your choices in the tactical mode were very important. Um, Alright. So yeah, the idea in this engine is making the film, making the combat be more important part of the gameplay. But yeah, of course, all the all these will be optional. I mean, if you want to make a game where combat isn't that important, then you can, well, skip combat completely, or just disable this manual handling of the party members. This is working fine, so I think we can proceed to the other goal of this development session, which is adding the actual pathfinding, and that will work in both combat mode and exploration mode. So I'm going to commit these changes. Oh, this is not good. I forgot to commit something. Yeah, this is not good at all. Because the changes I made were mostly on the player state machine. They are actually here, active mode. This is all the changes I did. And also maybe the mod class. Right. But there's some other changes here. I forgot to check before starting working, and there seems to be other things here. Yeah, I think this is mostly the addition of some the setup for that initial combat. And I think this also included a map, right? Okay, so I'm going to try to commit that part separately. That included adding some weapons, some appearances for these weapons. This is clean. This is just the changes that we just did. This is part of that setup, as well as this, yeah. And this is actually something additional. You can mention that in the comment. And I'm going to leave this small tweak on the other comment. Okay, this was a different fix, and this is another thing that we fixed. Okay, I'm going to leave that on the other commit. This will remain, and this is set up summoning battle scene, and then we have this small change on the UI because I just changed the cursor for the current mob so that it will look a bit similar to the other cursors. So yeah, change graphic for current mob cursor, and this is the changes that we just did. So besides that, we also are going to commit this one's just the changes we did, right? Yeah, it is. And this one is also only the changes that we just did, but this one also includes another small change for the battle description. So we're going to need to bundle that and say that this is a role taking control of party members in combat. A small fix on mob description. Right. Okay, and no questions so far, no questions anywhere. And the next part will be adding the pathfinding. So we are actually going to use a library which is called pathfinding.js or something like that. Yeah, this one. And it's pretty easy to use. So we are going to include it on the package. We have a package.json here, but I'm not sure if we can include the dependencies using this one, or if we are going to need to initialize a new project inside here. That's a good question, and that's pretty easy to find out. Ultimately, the idea is that in this mob class, instead of these simple calculations, we are going to use a pathfinding to find the route to place, right? So whatever we are using this, we are going to change it, and I think it's only that 2 places. So it will be something like const next step is level, right? The level find path to player from this, and then we do next x step dot x or dot dx. Yeah, dx, and next step dot dy, and we do the same here for the actual following a target, and then we don't use the player, we use the target object, and then what we do, we can just say that dx is next step dot dx, and dy is next step dot dy, and right, and then we need to define this function. So we are going to first just find path to from, and we are going to copy this initial simple implementation. So we are returning this dx and dy. The sign, there's a subtraction of the sign between to and from. Let's check for that order here. And I always get confused about this. It's to dot x minus from dot x, to dot y minus from dot y. Bus is defined. I'm just running some linter. Player state machine is defined the values. Okay, let's clear up. Expected condition expression is still so an assignment. This is because of this weird way of obtaining, and I think this was made by Camillo probably. That can be replaced for a fine. I think I can leave the to do here. Replace for this.mobs.find. This is also by Camillo, or is it me? No, this is mine. It's asking me to put a triple equals here. And I am missing the semicolon, and right, that should work. I'm going to run linter here. I'm also going to run linter here. Now this is log. Compare with triple equals. CB is defined but never used. Right, this is wrong. And use triple equals to compare with null. Okay. And the it's missing semicolon. Oh no, this is a different one. Okay, here. All right. Okay. And that should work. I mean, we are using the old pathfinding, the simple pathfinding. Yeah, they are following me, and they will do the same in combat. Bump against each other. Right. And what I was going to say is that we can actually commit that in 2 steps. We can commit this part where we extracted or prepared things for pathfinding, and then the actual inclusion of the pathfinding library. Because the idea is that here in the level class, instead of doing this, we do something else. So the way that the pathfinding library works is you need to create a grid, and then you set the walkable cells in that grid, and then you just use any of the 10 pathfinders that are bundled with the library. By using, you create a pathfinder, and then you define path from one place to the other place using the grid. And I think those pathfinders are reusable. I am not sure. We will find out. And we can also, and I think we also actually do need some of the settings here, like allowing diagonal movement. But yeah, let's do it like one part at a time. So if we're going to use the PF module, PF Pathfinding, like this, um, let's see if that works with Browserify. I'm not sure if it's going to work, because I am not sure where it's going to try to fetch the modules, and I think we're actually doing this with Phaser already. Over here, let's see, we are requiring this directly. It's a bit hackish the way it's done, and we are not using any other external library now. Yeah, I will try to add it here, but I'm not sure if it's going to work. Let's see. Let's do add the pathfinding library like this. So let's go here. Ah. Is it like this? Oh, sorry. Pathfinding heap. So it should be added here now. Yeah, here it is. And let's see if Browserify is able to resolve it. I am not sure it's going to work, or if we're going to need a different package.json inside the source folder. Not sure. We will know here. Well, actually, I don't know if we will know because we are not using it. We are just requiring it. Let's just follow the debug instruction there. Level.class. I need to remove all that, all those messages, or at least some of them. Let's check the bundle, and let's see if it's being imported. Well, yes, I mean there's an error here, but that's not, nothing that we could have fixed. Hold on a second. Okay. So pathfinding, and it seems to be importing the module. So let's create a grid, and let's set the walkable places. And I think actually Camilo did something about this using the solid mask, and I wonder if we can reuse it. So it's actually a boolean mask. Currently it's a boolean mask. I wonder if there's something that lets us set the matrix. You may also pass in a matrix while instantiating the pf.grid class. It will initiate all the nodes in the grid with the same walkability. I wonder if it could also work with boolean values instead of zeros and ones. There's only one way to know. So wherever we set the solid mask, we're going to also set the grid. So this dot grid PF grid, right, is going to be a new PF dot grid, and the size will be, well, we can directly send the matrix solid mask. And then we can create a finder like this and find a path. Be aware that grid will be modified. Oh, that's not good. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, we need all these, and probably this one too. And we need that here on define path2 function. Probably some of these we can reutilize or reuse, so that for efficiency, but let's first just make sure that it works. So we create a new finder, we clone the grid. I think we need to clone the grid here. This is the grid, and then we get a path, and then I think this also has some methods. Let's see if there's an API. Find path, because we don't need a full path. We just need like the next step, but there is nothing. Maybe if I go into the source code, there's a YAML file. I think there's some documentation. Maybe it's here. This is the interactive stuff. I don't really need that. I just need the. Let's see, for example, here in the documents, user guide. Where is stored to it? Before finding a path, find the path, it returns the path. Well, that's like the basic usage, but obstacles. I think this always works with the path. I will be back in a couple minutes. Okay. Okay. I think, is the microphone working correctly? I am not sure it is. Well, it looks like it is. Okay. I'm going to finish this session by finishing the pathfinding, and I am not sure if there's any different way to get the next step. Maybe if it is, I will find later. Because here, this is the main module. Well, this actually relies onto the different models here, and we have, for example, find path here. And I don't think the prototype has. No, I think we will have to use that. It looks like a waste of resources because we don't need a full path, but maybe in the future we are going to need it for ranged attacks or something. So let's go ahead and use it. Using the find path here, we use the grid backup. Yeah, we can use the grid backup so that we don't have to assign it back. Um, and then the way this works is we get a path, and this path is, as we can see here in documentation, is based on the actual coordinates of the grid. So we do not need the coordinates on the grid, we need the difference between our current position and the first, probably um, the first step on the path. But first we need to make sure that there's a path, and we can do that by checking if the length of the path is over. Let's say, I think it's always going to have at least the point you started and the point you are going to. So actually I don't think we need to check this. We can always check versus the second part of the path, like this. I am not sure. Well, this is actually a matrix. So 0 is the x and 1 is the y. And that's it. This can probably be saved somewhere so that we don't have to always instantiate the finder, but it's not that bad. That should work. Let's see if it works. Well, it crashed. Did. Oh, okay. There's a typo somewhere. Did. This from never used. Oh, okay. 2.x. That was never going to work. 2.y. No, actually the opposite. From dot x, from dot y, 2.x, 2.y, and this is actually one from dot x and from dot y. Okay. The good news is that the Pathfinder seems to be initialized correct. Well, they are stepping away from me. Something happened here. Well, maybe, yeah. Well, this is an empty path. That's interesting.
Juana, le hicieron a la niña esas que le hicimos con...
To dot x, to dot y, from dot x, from dot y. I wonder why the path was empty here. Maybe everything is set as solid. That's interesting. From x12, y15. Well, there have to be a path. Maybe we need to map it so that the mask is zeros and ones instead of Boolean values. That may be something that I gotta do. Another thing that may be wrong here is this subtraction, which maybe it's the opposite, because the destination is the Well, it kind of worked for a couple of steps. Actually, it's working most of times. I'm not sure if what happened. It seems to work most of times. They follow you unless they hit an obstacle. When they hit an obstacle, then the path is empty. That's interesting. Actually, hold on a second. Actually, I think there's a problem with this set workable. By default, all the nodes will be able to walk through. Set is workable of not set workable. Set 0, 0 is unworkable. That's similar to false. So, no, I think that's not a problem. In any case, that's interesting. If there are no obstacles, everything seems to work fine. In any case, I will check into this, but that's basically the idea. We will need to accommodate to the format that the pathfinding library needs the map or this walkable matrix to be defined to in. So I will check into that. Maybe it will just be a matter of doing mapping here so that this solid mask, all the elements of it are mapped. So you will map each row so that this is actually a matrix. So each one of them has an array, and we map also all the elements in this array so that if it's equal to, if it's true, then it will be solid. And again, I forgot about the 0. Oh, actually, well, the matrix 0 workable, 1 is blocked. I'm not sure what's the convention that Camilo took here. But we are using this to check if it is solid. So if it's true, it's solid, and if it's solid, it's unwalkable, and if it's unwalkable, it's 1. So it will be something like this. And we are going to print that to make sure we're fine. This should happen all at once. And we are going to initialize the grid using that one. Let's see if that works. But yeah, it may take a little more effort. It didn't print anything. Okay, something happened there. EF mask is not fine. We wait for it to build. It didn't print it, did it? Okay, here it is. It did print the mask, and it looks kind of weird actually. Doesn't look like what I would expect. It's kind of rotated. I think it's rotated. Okay, I will have to look into this, see what we need to do for this to work. But that's the idea, using this Pathfinding library. As you can see, we plugged it into the existing uh, engine. So instead of doing this simple difference, we do something, we use in this case a star Pathfinding. And I will check whatever details are needed to make this work. So that's what I wanted to show you guys. Thank you for checking this. And after this, Camilo is already working on the inventories. We will probably have to integrate at some point, and afterwards, there's a lot of to-dos that we have left on the way. Um, some of them are, for example, implementing the animations for the different kinds of weapons. Um, for example, for the arrows, we need to rotate the sprites and then make them move towards the enemies. Some other weapons will be rotating sprites, like constantly rotating sprites, like throwing axes or something like that. So I think we are going to go through all these to-dos first before advancing further. And I will need to check the roadmap to actually find out uh, what's the next steps after this. But I think we're doing pretty well. Let's see that just to say, just for curiosity. So basically, the capabilities, I am taking most of this on my list of things to do. Camilo is taking the dialogues and the inventory. So I started with combat, entering a living combat mode. Living combat mode is something that we haven't done yet. Attacking, that's done, but as I say, there's some to-dos that we need to work in. Then party, checking the status of a party member and setting the tactics. That's related to the inventory. So maybe Camilo will end up taking this as well. The dialogues, that's Camilo, and maybe the next thing I will work in is the world model. So you cannot really move around. Camilo is working on picking up stuff, examining the map and checking the stuff in the world. Maybe that's the next thing to do. Then interacting with some world features, opening and closing doors, all the keys. So I think that's the next thing I will focus on. But yeah, you can, if you want, you can always check this list. This is like the master list of things we're planning to do. So, alright, thank you for checking this out, and I will see you in the next development stream. Bye bye.